You know how in some Buddhist teachings, the very mention of Bodh Gaya seems to carry this incredible weight, this like profound reverence.
Mhm.
It really makes you stop and ask, okay, what is it about this particular place? Why is it so utterly sacred in Buddhism?
Yeah, that's exactly what our source material helps us get into today. We've been exploring a deeply insightful Dhamma Talk. It's from the Muhammad Nawa YouTube channel
Oh, yes.
by the Venerable Kiribathgoda Gnanananda Thero. Really good stuff.
And what struck me, right away was that underlying sense of awe. The speaker just radiated it when talking about Bodh Gaya. So our mission, I guess, in this deep dive is to really unpack that for you. It's clearly more than just history, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, geographically, sure, Bodh Gaya is in Bihar, India. It's near Gaya City by the Naranjara River. But its true significance, well, it extends far, far beyond its coordinates on a map.
Because the heart of it, right, the fundamental reason for this reverence, as the Dhamma Talk really emphasized,
Yeah, the core reason.
is that this specific spot, this is where all Buddhas, past, present, and even future ones attain enlightenment. Every single one.
Mm-hmm. That's the claim. It's a monumental one, as you say.
It really is.
And the talk, it beautifully connects this to a remarkable sequence of rare occurrences. Just think about the sheer improbability, just being born as a human being.
Right. I mean, that in itself is considered incredibly fortunate, isn't it?
Hugely fortunate. And then, within that already rare existence, you have the appearance of a Buddha in the world. That's an even more exceptional happening. Like a truly unique alignment of cosmic forces, you could say.
Wow. And then even rarer than that is the chance to actually encounter and hear the Dharma, the teachings that, guide us towards liberation.
Exactly. And then maybe the rarest step of all, as the talk suggests, is having all those conditions line up perfectly, converge in a way that allows you to develop genuine faith. That deep conviction known as sada.
Sada, right.
Which isn't just blind belief. It's a deep, reasoned conviction. It's based on understanding, on experience.
Okay. So Bodh Gaya then stands as this incredible culmination point. It's the end result of this almost unbelievable chain of fortunate events.
That's a great way to put it.
It's where that potential for awakening reaches its absolute peak. So it's not just a historical marker then. It's more like a vibrant nexus of potential, a place just saturated with spiritual significance.
Precisely. And, to truly understand why Bodh Gaya carries such profound weight, the talk explores the Bodhisattva's journey. Everything leading up to that pivotal moment, this immense period of cultivating the paramita, the perfections.
Oh, yeah. The talk mentions the 4 Sankhya and 100,000 kalpas. That's an almost incomprehensible span of time, isn't it?
It truly is.
Just dedicated to perfecting qualities like generosity, ethical conduct, patience, wisdom. It really underscores the immense, almost unimaginable commitment needed, the spiritual growth required to become a Buddha.
It is. It's a powerful testament, really, to the extraordinary dedication necessary. And the Vesantara Jataka, that's highlighted as the specific lifetime where this vast period of practice reached its completion, sort of the final refining of those essential qualities.
But even that wasn't the final step right before enlightenment, was it?
No, not quite. Following that life, the Bodhisattva was born in the Tusita heaven as Santusita de Araja, a celestial realm.
A high state of being, yeah.
And it was from there, according to the narrative, that beings from 10,000 different world systems, they came to him with a deeply significant request.
10,000 world systems. Wow, that sounds like a truly universal moment. What did they ask?
Well, they implored him, basically, to take birth in the human world one last time, to attain Buddhahood, and in doing so, open the doors to liberation for all sentient beings. It's described almost as a cosmic plea.
Wow, the sheer weight of that expectation. But he didn't just immediately say yes, did he? I remember the talk mentioned 5 crucial considerations.
Exactly. He didn't just jump in. Before accepting, he contemplated 5 essential factors. The auspiciousness of the time, the typical lifespan of humans in that era.
Time when folks are generally more open to spiritual ideas. It's about the world's readiness, really.
The right continent for his birth.
Okay.
The ideal geographical region, known as Madhyudesa, which crucially is where Bodh Gaya is located. And finally, the appropriate lineage, the Sakya clan. Then we get to the right womb, focusing specifically on the mother. What's the thinking there?
What's revealing is the real emphasis on the mother's qualities, like her purity, her virtue, her wisdom. So The choice of location wasn't arbitrary at all. It was a deliberate, vital part of the whole unfolding process, even before he was born as Siddhartha Gautama.
Precisely. It really highlights the inherent significance attributed to that specific geographical area right from the start.
Right. Then, of course, we arrive at the Enlightenment itself. The talk, it briefly touches on the familiar story, his marriage, the birth of Rahula, the Great Renunciation, and those intense 6 years of ascetic practice.
Which, as we know, ultimately didn't lead to the desired outcome. It actually guided him towards discovering the middle way instead.
Right.
And then, the pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Sitting at the foot of the Jaya Sri Mahabodhi tree on the Vajrasana.
The diamond throne. And it was right there in that precise posture at that exact location that he attained Sambodhi perfect, supreme enlightenment. And the talk, it really emphasizes that this was through his own profound self-realization, right? Not some revelation bestowed upon him.
Yes, absolutely key. It wasn't an external gift. It was the culmination of his own, diligent practice and profound insight. Insights into the Four Noble Truths. And the talk reiterates this vital point again and again. The Vajrasana in Bodh Gaya is the one and only spot in the entire cosmos where all Buddhas, past, present, and future, achieve this ultimate awakening.
That really solidifies its unique, kind of irreplaceable significance, doesn't it? And with that enlightenment, he became the first arahant of this era.
Correct. The first being in this age to be completely free from all defilements. Raga, that's clinging attachment. Dvesha, aversion and ill will. And moha, the pervasive ignorance and delusion that bind us to suffering.
Which is, such a stark contrast to our ordinary experience, still grappling with those very things day in, day out. So enlightenment is portrayed as this truly radical state, like total freedom.
Indeed. And the path to achieving that freedom, the Aryan Ashtangika Marga, the Noble Eightfold Path.
Right understanding, right thought, right speech.
Exactly. Right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This isn't just some abstract list of principles.
Yeah.
It's presented as a step-by-step guide for cultivating wisdom, ethical conduct, mental discipline, everything needed to achieve liberation. And this very method was discovered and articulated right there under that Bodhi tree.
So Bodh Gaya isn't just the where of enlightenment, but it's also where the how became clear.
Exactly. And the talk then, it delves into the concept of cessation, the ultimate goal. It explains the three bodies or aspects of our being.
Okay.
The Aularika Sarira, that's the physical body we perceive. Then the Manomaya Sarira, the mind-made body. And the Sanamaya Sarira, the more subtle perception-made body.
So like physical, mental, and perception-based. And these are the aspects that, they continue through the cycle of samsara, right? Birth, death, rebirth, perpetuating suffering.
That's right. But what's so significant about the enlightenment at Bodh Gaya, and this is key, is that when an arahant, someone who has attained full enlightenment like the Buddha, reaches parinirvana, the final passing away, all three of those bodies completely cease without any residue, any potential for future rebirth.
Completely cease. Wow.
The key insight here is that enlightenment isn't just about, say, changing your mind. It's about the complete transcendence of all aspects of conditioned existence. It leads to a final liberation with absolutely no possibility of further suffering.
So it's the definitive end, the end to the cycle of suffering. And Bodh Gaya, as the place where this was first achieved in our current world age, it kind of represents the potential for that complete cessation. It's a true beacon of ultimate freedom.
Which brings us really to our present moment. The talk emphasizes the extraordinary fortune, just being born human and having the opportunity to encounter these teachings.
Yeah, it keeps coming back to that. An incredible stroke of luck, really, when you think about it.
It is. And it highlights the stages of enlightenment achievable by following the path revealed in Bodh Gaya.
Right.
From Sotapanna, the stream enterer, to Sakadagami, the once returner, then Anagami, the non-returner, and finally the fully liberated arahant.
All achieved through.
All attained through the cultivation of sila, ethical conduct, samadhi, concentration and mental discipline, and panna, wisdom and understanding, the very foundations of the Buddha's path. And the talk beautifully invokes the qualities of the Buddha with that phrase, Itipi so bhagava araham, recognizing him as the blessed one, the worthy one, the perfectly self-awakened one, the pioneer of this path in our era.
The one who showed the way.
Yeah. And when an arahant reaches parinirvana, the talk describes it as the cessation of the physical body, sometimes marked by 32 major signs of a great being, and the complete cessation of those subtle mind-made and perception-made bodies, leaving behind only relics, the dhatu.
the physical reminders, but the actual essence, the being, is gone.
Exactly. The talk uses that powerful analogy, of an extinguished lamp flame.
Ah, yes.
You can't point to where the flame went. It simply ceases when the fuel, the conditions are exhausted. Similarly, the liberated state is beyond our usual conventional understanding of existence or non-existence. Precisely.
That gives a powerful sense of the finality, the completeness of parinirvana.
Now, okay, for many of us listening, maybe traveling all the way to Bodh Gaya isn't immediately feasible. How does this profound significance connect more tangibly, say for people in Sri Lanka, for example?
Well, this is where the connection becomes remarkably direct and historically significant. It's through the introduction of Buddhism to Sri Lanka by the Venerable Mahinda Mahathira.
Emperor Ashoka's son,
Yeah.
a pivotal moment in Sri Lankan history.
Hugely transformative event, absolutely. Him a sapling from the Jayasri Mahabodhi tree itself, the southern branch.
Wow.
This historical link, it powerfully demonstrates how the spiritual energy, the significance of Bodh Gaya has been actively carried and, cultivated across geographical boundaries.
So a direct descendant of the very tree under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. That's incredible. It is. The talk recounts how Emperor Dharmashoka, guided by the esteemed elder monk Moggaliputta, facilitated this. It's even said that the Buddha himself had foreseen the flourishing of the Dharma in Sri Lanka through 5 great aspirations or prophecies.
So this wasn't just some random historical event. It was seen as almost predestined in a way.
According to the tradition, yes. And the way the branch was obtained is described as quite miraculous. Out of deep reverence, they avoided cutting it with any instrument. Instead, Emperor Ashoka marked the chosen branch with gold paint, made a powerful aspiration, a strong intention. And the branch is said to have detached itself spontaneously.
Just detached itself. A truly remarkable story.
It was then placed in a golden pot, and the story goes, it levitated and emitted light for a week before being carried to Sri Lanka. This event established a direct, living lineage connecting Sri Lanka right back to the very moment of the Buddha's enlightenment.
And the planting of that sapling, that led to the establishment of some of the most important, most sacred sites in Sri Lanka.
Indeed. The talk mentions the foundational stupa of Tuparama, the very first one, and also the magnificent Ruwan Welisaya, both of which enshrine relics of the Buddha, further deepening Sri Lanka's spiritual connection to the source.
The talk made an interesting observation about Sri Lanka there, suggesting that while maybe sometimes it lacks material wealth, its spiritual richness stemming from this direct lineage is just immense.
Yeah, a profound and enduring blessing, described that way. And the talk emphasizes that the Jayasri Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura today is a direct descendant of that original southern branch, still alive, still venerated.
A living link to that pivotal moment. And listeners are strongly encouraged to visit if they have the opportunity, right, to experience that connection firsthand.
Definitely.
But the talk also provided some crucial guidance on how to approach such veneration, didn't it? It wasn't just about showing up.
It did. Very important point. The emphasis was crystal clear on the right intention. When you venerate the Bodhi tree, whether it's in Bodh Gaya or its descendant in Sri Lanka, or really any sacred site associated with enlightenment, your primary aspiration, your main focus, should be to understand the Dharma and ultimately realize the Four Noble Truths for yourself.
Not just, asking for worldly gains or favors. Better job, win the lottery.
Exactly. The principle is kind of near the noble, seek the noble. Worldly matters, the talk explains, are governed by karma, by cause and effect. Our actions and intentions shape those outcomes. But these sacred sites, they represent the highest attainment possible, liberation. So our aspirations there should align with that.
Focus on the ultimate goal, liberation.
Precisely. And the talk even cautioned against certain seemingly pious intentions, like praying at these sites to be reborn together with loved ones in future lives.
That's such a common desire, though, isn't it? To want to remain connected with the people we care about.
It is. Completely understandable. But the talk warns that such attachments, even when they feel well-meaning, can actually hinder our progress towards liberation. They can further bind us to the cycle of rebirth.
That's a counterintuitive but really important.
If they aren't understood and eventually transcended.
So the consistent message is keep the focus firmly on liberation.
Yeah.
And the talk reiterated just how rare this whole opportunity is, encountering the Buddha's teachings, the Sangha, the community of practitioners, and having the chance to actually put the Dharma into practice.
Absolutely. That statistic mentioned about Savatthi, with so many people attaining some level of realization during the Buddha's time,
Yeah, like 300 million out of 500 million or something.
something like that, yeah. It serves as both an inspiration, showing what's possible, but also a stark reminder of the preciousness of this human birth right now.
And if we have made those kinds of maybe misguided aspirations in the past, praying for worldly things or rebirth together, the talk offered a way to sort of course correct, didn't it?
Yes, thankfully. The advice was to return, whether physically if you can, or even just mentally in your meditation, to those sacred places. Seek forgiveness, maybe mentally acknowledge any unskillful intentions you had, and then consciously redirect your aspirations towards understanding the Four Noble Truths. Merit, the talk reminds us, follows intention, so you can change the direction.
Okay, that's really practical advice. A powerful message of mindful aspiration. Now, beyond the iconic Bodhi tree itself, the talk also highlighted some fascinating historical connections between Sri Lanka and Bodh Gaya. More than just the tree.
Indeed. There's archaeological evidence, apparently, suggesting that early Sri Lankan monks actually traveled to and resided in Bodh Gaya quite early on in Buddhist history. Monks like Bodharakkhita and a group led by Chulatissa Thera are mentioned.
So there was a real back and forth, a reciprocal relationship existed even then.
It certainly seems so. And then there's that intriguing story of a 5th century Sri Lankan prince. He became a novice monk in Bodh Gaya first, before eventually returning to Sri Lanka and becoming King Silakala.
Wow, quite a journey. From monk in Bodh Gaya to king in Sri Lanka.
A unique path indeed. But perhaps the most significant historical link mentioned is from the 4th century CE, during the reign of King Kithsiramavan in Sri Lanka. The talk recounts how Sri Lankan monks visiting Bodh Gaya were facing difficulties, maybe accommodation or support. This led the king to make a pretty remarkable request.
What did he do?
He actually appealed to the powerful Gupta emperor, Samudragupta, for land in Bodh Gaya, specifically to build a monastery, a vihara, to house and support visiting Sri Lankan monks.
So like a dedicated Sri Lankan center right there at the heart of the Buddhist world in India.
Exactly. This monastery became known as the Sinhala Vihara, the Sinhalese monastery. And incredibly, the talk mentions that the great commentator Buddhaghosa Thera,
The Buddhaghosa, whose works are so foundational to Theravada.
that's the one. He was actually ordained at this very monastery, the Sinhala Vihara in Bodh Gaya.
Wow, that's an amazing connection. Buddhaghosa himself has a direct link to the Sri Lankan presence in Bodh Gaya.
It truly underscores the deep historical and spiritual ties. Apparently, a copper plaque was found at the site later, emphasizing the importance of offering help and support to all pilgrims, regardless of where they came from.
A testament to those shared Buddhist values. But the talk also touched on a period of hardship for Bodh Gaya itself, right? It wasn't always thriving.
Yes, sadly. Around 1100 years ago, the site faced significant destruction. However, it has been subsequently restored over the centuries through the efforts of various individuals and groups, leading to the vibrant pilgrimage site we see today. Though, as the speaker wisely pointed out, the sheer number of pilgrims going there doesn't necessarily equate to deep understanding among all of them.
Right. A poignant reminder that the inner journey, the understanding, is paramount. Now, switching gears slightly, there was also that fascinating story about the Ananda Bodhi tree, wasn't there?
Yes, this takes us right back to the time when the Buddha was residing at the Jitavana monastery in Savatthi, given by Andapidindika.
Okay.
And devotees would travel, often great distances, to see the Buddha, to hear him teach.
A real commitment to their practice, yeah.
Absolutely. But when the Buddha was away, maybe on his teaching rounds elsewhere, these devotees felt a sense of disappointment. They'd arrive, and there was no tangible object, no focal point to venerate in his absence.
Yeah, understandable. You travel all that way, you want that point of connection.
So, Anathapindika Seth, the generous benefactor of Jetavana, he suggested to Venerable Ananda, the Buddha's attendant, that they should have some kind of venerable object at the monastery for people to focus on.
Good, yeah.
Ananda then posed this to the Buddha, and the Buddha explained the 3 types of sacred objects. Sarika, physical relics like hair or bone. Parabogika, things he used like his robe bowl or the Bodhi tree. And Udesika, symbolic representations like statues or images.
Okay, 3 types.
And the Buddha specifically stated that the Bodhi tree, the tree of enlightenment, is venerable whether he is physically present or not, because it's parabogika, something directly connected to his attainment.
Ah, Okay, so it holds its own significance.
Exactly. So Ananda then requested permission to plant a seed, or maybe a sapling, from the Bodh Gaya Bodhi tree right there at Jetavana, to bring that sacred energy, that connection, to Savatthi.
Extending that spiritual lineage again.
Precise. And, well, miraculously, Venerable Mahamoggallana, known for his psychic powers, obtained a ripe fruit from the Bodh Gaya tree just as it detached, but before it hit the ground. And as the Vendika Seth then planted the seed, and it's said to have instantaneously grown into a mature tree, another remarkable event in the story.
Wow, instant tree.
And the Buddha himself then spent a night meditating under this newly grown tree, essentially consecrating it. This became known as the Ananda Bodhi tree, planted at Ananda's request. It really illustrates how that sacredness can be extended through lineage, through connection. Though, the talk emphasized, the original Vajrasana in Bodh Gaya still retains its unique and primary significance.
Right, like the central power source, maybe? There was also that captivating Jataka tale, the story about King Kalinga. That goes way back.
Yes, a fascinating story from a past life. The Bodhisattva, the being who had become the Buddha, was serving as the wise minister to this King Kalinga, and they were traveling through the air on a magnificent white elephant.
As you do. Quite the journey.
Indeed. But as they flew over the site of what would become Bodh Gaya, specifically over the spot of the Vajrasana, the diamond throne, the elephant suddenly stopped. Just stopped midair and refused to move any further.
Wouldn't budge at all, just hanging there.
Exactly. Despite the king's commands, his urging, the elephant remained rooted in the air above that spot. The king grew annoyed, frustrated. But the Bodhisattva, through his wisdom, his insight, he realized the profound significance of the place below them.
Even then.
Even in that distant past life, he recognized it as the future site of enlightenment for all Buddhas. That location held a special, inherent sacredness even then.
A timeless sacredness. Wow.
Exactly. So he explained this to King Kalinga, who was initially pretty skeptical. Tragically, the story goes, the king's forceful attempts to make the elephant move resulted in the poor elephant's death from strain.
Oh, no.
But then, another divine elephant appeared. The Bodhisattva eventually managed to convince the king to descend to the ground and to show reverence to this sacred spot. King Kalinga, finally understanding, made offerings there, flowers, gold, silver, acknowledging its unique spiritual power.
It really emphasizes that inherent timeless sacredness of Bodh Gaya, doesn't it? Recognized even by beings in past eras, before our Buddha's time.
Precisely. And the speaker in the Dhamma Talk, they shared a personal connection too, mentioning their own monastery's proximity to the Naranjara River, which allows for frequent visits to Bodh Gaya.
Ah, a fortunate circumstance indeed.
Very much so. And they use that to encourage listeners, even if Bodh Gaya is geographically distant for you, seize the opportunity. Visit Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka if you can. Venerate the Treya Mahabodhi, the Ruan Wilazaya. Connect with that same spiritual energy now.
Right. Don't necessarily wait for some ideal far-off moment. And the talk, it beautifully integrated the first verse of the Mangala Sutta here, remember? Reminding us of the importance of avoiding fools, associating with the wise, and honoring those worthy of honor, and applying that principle directly to how we approach these sacred sites.
Making offerings with deep respect, with reverence, with pure thoughts and pure words. The manner of our veneration truly matters.
Mm-hmm. And the benefits of doing it properly with the right intention and respect, they're profound, aren't they?
They certainly sound like it based on the talk.
Yeah.
Indeed. The talk outlined how it can lead to avoiding lower realms of rebirth, lead to being reborn in more auspicious circumstances, maybe among devas, and crucially, to developing an inclination, a leaning towards understanding the Dharma, ultimately paving the way for enlightenment itself.
So it's the conditions.
Exactly. The Buddha's teachings, his dispensation or sasana, it's potent, to talk reminds us. We need to cultivate the path wisely. Enlightenment arises when the conditions are right. This human life is a potential right condition. Death isn't annihilation. We carry forward the weight of our karma, the principle of cause and effect, where our actions and intentions shape our future. So accumulating merit through wise actions and intentions is crucial.
And the core advice, it really comes back again and again to prioritizing those visits, whether to Bodh Gaya or Anuradhapura. And when you're there, to focus your requests purely on gaining the wisdom to understand the Four Noble Truths, letting go of the lesser, more worldly desires.
It highlights how easily we can get sidetracked from the ultimate goal, even with good intentions.
It's so easy to do.
It is. The importance of protecting our citta prasada, that clarity and unwavering faith towards the triple gem in these sacred places, was strongly emphasized.
Right.
It showed their deep commitment and also the continued importance of clear understanding. Overall, this Dhamma Talk really paints Bodh Gaya as this truly unique, incredibly potent center of spiritual awakening.
So, okay, to sort of summarize this deep dive then, we've explored how Bodh Gaya stands as this, well, universal place of enlightenment, the spot where all Buddhas attain awakening.
The cosmic center point.
Yeah, and that profound significance, it extends through the living lineage of the Jayasri Mahabodhi in Sri Lanka, offering us, a tangible connection to that pivotal event and to the potential for our own liberation.
Absolutely. And maybe the final thought then is really to encourage you, the listener, to cultivate that deep reverence for these sacred places, to strive to understand the Dharma, really get into the teachings, and to focus your deepest aspirations on that ultimate freedom, on liberation, inspired by the unparalleled, unique sacredness of Bodh Gaya.
Yeah. We sincerely hope this deep dive has provided you with some valuable insights, maybe some things to reflect on, to guide you on your own path to understanding.